Anime fans love to compare. As cool as it can be to see the accomplishments of something like Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Movie 1 become the highest selling anime movie of all time, I definitely don't think that means it's the best. Oh, how shocking. For my next trick, I'll say there are better anime than the popular ones. But nothing I say will stop people from trying to compare things that lack the same foundations, myself included. But easily the stupidest thing that anime fans will say is blank anime broke the internet. Yes, this is an exaggeration, but it's turning a molehill into a mountain. People will say that Dragon Ball or One Piece or Attack on Titan broke the internet because Crunchyroll or some other pirate website went down for a few hours a day at most. Sure, it's a cool thing that people are able to reach this degree of popularity, but broke the internet? Like, there aren't people out there freaking out because they can't contact their family and their secretary comes in and goes, "I found the answer, sir. It's One Piece. One Piece broke the internet." These things are blown out of proportion so that anime TikTok pages have a new unoriginal post to spam. But what if I told you there was an anime that actually broke the internet? Isn't that right? Summer Wars.
Please tell me you didn't break the internet.
Of course not.
Wait, shit, no. Summer Wars was a fairly well-known anime movie of its era, which was 15 years ago, which is a long time before people started making anime analysis videos for a living. So, directed by Mamoru Hosoda of Wolf Children, Girl Who Left Through Time, and recently Belle Acclaim. Although this is far from his whole catalog, as any avid fan would point out the Digimon movie that has the exact same plot as Summer Wars, but that's not important right now. Summer Wars sticks out by realizing that a family, especially a large and dedicated one, is the perfect excuse to have a gigantic cast of characters, all of which have intertwining personalities, jobs, skills, and emotions that make for such an engaging experience as you watch the quote-unquote internet break. I put internet in quotes for a reason. While the movie does a good job of immediately establishing the cyber world known as Oz, it's not the internet that you or I necessarily use. And I think that's the most common critique of the movie is the, "Oh great, more Hollywood technobabble to explain anything technological." You know, the classic, "I'm in" hacker bullshit that they pull, which, first of all, Hollywood. You know, the place that anime is produced. But secondly, I think this movie has only grown closer and closer to reality over time. Sure, in its era, the internet was a whole different beast. Even Facebook was like 2 or 3 years old. But while it is still a step away from realism, I do think that the digital world is getting closer to this vision. Sure, I still can't plug my DS into a supercomputer to fight some kind of digital virus, but pretty much the entirety of this movie feels like some type of Meta Horizons world bullshit with much better art design. And to me, that just feels like stylization. It is just making the internet in the movie more interesting. Like, sure, they could have done a completely accurate version of the internet. Who the fuck would watch that? And if you consider how much big tech companies today are woven together, it doesn't seem that far-fetched to say that hacking into every, Google account in the world would give you access to data that could potentially end the world. There's also the whole AI thing and how the US government is to blame, but I gotta leave something for you to experience, so let's move on. I think the reason that the fictional/digital elements work so well in this movie is how committed they are to bringing both to life. This gigantic and dynamic family is a cool concept in its own, but it isn't the execution. But then you have these insanely intricate sit down and eat scenes with them, and it's so alive. Even while these characters are completely muted in the background footage, you can see these characters' personality shine through. Whether it's vigor or childlike wonder or the nervousness of our nerd-ass main character, every character in this movie is so rigorously animated, you can't help but sit there in awe. And then you realize that's only one half of the intertwined worlds, and they whip out a I don't think I have to say it, but this movie is drop dead gorgeous from beginning to end. I am a very hard person to please with animation quality. I think most anime could look better the majority of the time. And while I understand that it isn't really feasible with the time, budgets, and teams on these productions, especially the seasonal ones, I do think it's an important thing to preface when I say that this movie has 10 out of 10 visuals. I can think of one scene in the entire movie that doesn't look amazing. Even with a mountain of every anime fan's least favorite thing, CGI, there are so many intricate character pieces or action sequences in this movie that I feel like a second watch is necessary purely to gawk at what I'm seeing. And it's not just about the animation. There are a lot of shows out there with good animation and the most bland, generic anime art style I've ever seen that just makes me roll my eyes. But they commit 100% to the digital world. Look at how many digital avatar customization options there are that are on screen for 15 seconds, maybe? I think the visuals are easily the biggest selling point of this movie, but don't let that alone sell you on it. As much of an animation snob as I am, I don't think a movie just looking good is gonna sell. Shout out Redline, by the way. A story is necessary, and while I think Summer Wars has a pretty solid one with its plot twists, sad, funny, and happy moments, I think the best thing that Summer Wars ever did was connect all of its smaller aspects. When the story isn't advancing, the animation is pushing hard from below. When the soundtrack is shining, the visuals are kept simple so that you can get absorbed into these digital hums. Yes, a lot of this is just basic filmmaking and directing, but especially for its era, animated movies had an entirely different production ethos. I think it's something really special to have an entire studio working of one mind to make a product in which every aspect delivers. This is easily one of my favorite animated movies out there, and if you want about 2 hours of fun, go give it a watch. Or if you/someone you know is one of those people that only watches Ghibli movies, this is the perfect thing to wean someone into the greater anime space with. Especially because there's little to none of that classic anime bullshit, and even when it is there, it feels a step above just a trope. So if you're like me and you get called guy who can see things with his working eyes all the time, go watch the damn movie.